Hey everyone, Zach here, and welcome to lesson 86 of this RTS tutorial series. In this video, we'll be setting up the prep work that we need to do to have our individual unit behavior trees get selected and run. All of that said, I'd like to apologize for the delay in the videos. This month has been a bit hectic. I am hopeful to get one more video out for this series this month, hopefully on Monday, but that might come out on Friday. Again, I apologize. We'll be back to our usual schedule in January. Now, all of that said, fire up your editor and let's get started. Hey everyone, welcome back to the editor. So, as I mentioned, we are going to start working on our individual trees. We have a little bit of prep we need to do for that. So the first thing I want to do is I want to set up what we're going to be working with. And what we're going to do is we're going to go into our blueprints folder and go into our AI, and then we're going to go to our blackboard. And if I can get that to open, we are going to add in a new key, which will be will be an enum, and it will be unit type. And in our unit type, we need to open up our key type, and we need to select our unit type enum, and that sets this up. Next, what we need to do is we need to create a new decorator. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into our behavior tree, and it might open up in the same window as your blackboard, because remember, you can switch between the two. And just go to decorator, and we're going to use our base decorator type here. So click that. I'm going to pin that into the window. And we're going to go back to our main window, and we're going to rename this decorator as BTD underscore is under control. And move that into our decorators folder. So our is under control is a relatively simple decorator we're going to create, and we are only going to have two variables in here and one function. So go to your functions, go to override, and you want to get your perform condition check AI, and we're going to break that for a moment. We're going to have two of these, and we don't need to cast anything. We don't need to do our special casting, and in fact, I think I did it in an earlier video when we did our other decorator. We never use those variables there. All we need to do here is create a new variable, and this will be our status, and this will be of our blackboard key selector. So let's put in a blackboard key selector category, and we're going to get it. From here, we want to get the blackboard value as enum. So there's our enum one, and then we need one more variable, which will be our unit status, and this will be of our type unit status, if I can spell any of these words right, enum. And we are going to set that value and plug the execute pins into the set, and all we're going to do now is just make sure it's the correct conversion. So we have to byte, and then this should be to enum stat. Yep, so to unit enum, it's the correct type. From here, now I know I normally don't do this. I would pull in another version of this and then do this, but I'm going to pull off the return pin here and do a switch on enum status, and we have our enum statuses in here. And as I said, we have two return nodes. Well, these two return nodes are going to handle if the unit is under control or not. So if this is true, what we're going to have, the bottom one is be true, the top one is false. And all we want to do is plug that into there. Plug the needs billeting into there, is fatigued, is hungry, and is afraid. Technically, the is afraid shouldn't work, but we'll clean that up later on if we need to. And the is doing work, and the is unloyal. All right, save that. Go back to your behavior tree now. And we're going to add this decorator into our unit tree selector here. So decorators, and we have our is under control. Plug that into there. And I made a mistake. Go back to your is under control decorator and make sure that you can edit this instance. There we go. All right, now this is correct. I'm going to rename this as is not under control. And all we're going to do is we're going to change the observer type to self. We are going to change the status to status. And that is all we need to do. Now, to make things a little bit easier, I'm just going to move this out a bit here. I'm going to cheat a bit, and I'm going to put in a little test. And our test is going to be this get the location for the random location and move to random. I'm just going to copy them, so Control-C or Control-W, and paste it over here. And I'm going to put in a sequence. And this is purely for testing purposes. So when we debug at the end of this video, this should be our test. I'm going to add in a decorator for looping through this. And maybe we'll leave it as 3 loop. It doesn't really matter if it's infinite or not in this case. So save that. The next thing we need to do is we need to go over to our widgets. And we need to open up our unit info widget, or HUD. So, unit info. And in here, all we're going to do is we are going to first go to our graph. And we don't need that. We don't need that. We do need the activate work button, so we're going to leave that one open. So let's activate sleep, activate work, and our event graph. In our event graph, grab your work button or job button and do on clicked. And we're going to have a branch here. And we're going to take care of the conditional check on the branch in just a moment. What we're going to do instead is we are going to cheat a bit. We're going to take all of this here, and we're going to copy it down here. And we are going to have this top one go to is true. Sorry, is idle. I don't know if I said is true. From the true. We're going to duplicate it again down here. And this one will be doing is doing work. Plug that into there. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to create the condition that we're going to check here by creating a Boolean variable. So remember, all we're doing here is we're changing the status type. Instead of using our status check that is here, we're just going to force a change by clicking certain buttons so the AI takes over based on what those changes are. And so we're changing it here. We're passing that information to our blackboard. Same down here. All right, so let's create a new variable, and this will be is automated. Our default for that one should be false because we do not want them to be automated at the start. Plug that into there. Plug this one into here and set the bottom one to true. Come back to your conditional check and plug it into there. So the first time we click it, this will be false, and we're going to set them to doing work. This will set that status to true. If we want them to stop doing work, this will be true. So we come through here, and that will set it to false. Now, there's going to be a little bit of a bug if you think about this, and I want you to think about this before I give the solution, which will be probably in the next video, the video after that. And I'll give you a hint. It has to do with our unit status check. We automate something in our unit status check, so let's just pop that open real quick to take a look at it. It's in our services. So, oddly enough, it's in the right one. So here's our check loyalty, and it's in here. And you want to look at this branch in particular. There is something you need to consider that might lead to issues with regards to what we are doing here. So think about some object-oriented approaches that might solve that problem. If you don't know what the problem is, test it out. See if you can find that problem. All right, so now that we've done that, let's make sure one thing in here is set, that this is yep. I didn't do this in my test file. I think I commented on that. This is actually something I was going to add in this video if I hadn't included it. But since I included it in an earlier video, woot. That was the other issue I thought about including and decided not to at the last minute. All right. So we can close that out. We don't need it. Now what we can do is do our first test. So let's hit play. I should have checked something before I did this, which is, did I actually set our unit up not to be already unloyal? All right. So let's do job real quick, and there we go. we have the random fleeing going on because we told it to randomly flee. It's exactly what we're looking for. Again, we'll address these errors later on. Don't worry about them right now. All right. There's one more thing in the unit info. How do we need to do? I said we need to leave this activate work button open. So we need to do one thing in here. And what we're going to do is we're just going to move all of this down here. And we need to have a branch in here. We don't want the button to be active if the unit is not loyal. So we're going to have one more branch. And this will come off the true. And so we're going to get our unit status. We are going to check, is it not equal to? So not equal enum. Is it not equal to is unloyal? If it is not unloyal, then we want the button to be active. If the unit is, for some reason, unloyal, you've been mean to the unit, then we do not want the button enabled. And I'm going to cheat a bit and just duplicate this over here. But before I do that, I'm going to give myself a bit more room to play with. Move that down that way. So all we're checking is our unit loyal? If it is not loyal, so it is unloyal, we go down to this false. The button is not enabled, it is grayed out. If they are loyal, then it's true, and then we check all the other conditions. All right, so that takes care of our button. The next part of the prep we need to do is we need to go to our unit control. Excuse me. We need to go to our master unit, and we need to create a new function. Let's just close all of this out because we don't need any of this anymore. Leave the event graph open. All right, we're going to create a new function in here that is going to pass information along to the blackboard. In fact, actually, before we do that, I want to show you why we're doing this. So we created an enum key earlier, and that enum key is what is going to allow us to switch between the various unit types. So let's break that for a minute now that we know that this branch is working. Move this up here. Sorry. What we're going to do is we're going to pull off of here, and we are going to do a sequence. In fact, we're going to have, at the end of the day, 4 sequences based on the number of units we have. But we're going to start with 1. And this sequence, we're going to add in a new decorator, which will be a blackboard type. And this will have on result change, none is set. But we're going to change the is busy to unit type. And we're going to change our key value to engineer. I believe it's the engineer we have on the map. It is the engineer unit. Okay. So is equal to engineer. Now let's plug this back into here. And it's not going to work. I'm just going to tell you that right now. It's not going to work. So we hit play, grab our engineer, tell it to do job. Do job. Nothing's happening. So why nothing is happening is actually I'm going to hit play again. And I'm just going to grab that unit, do job. Let's go into here. And you see this red bar here telling us that it's coming back as a false, that we failed. Well, if we look over here, we see the unit type is infantry according to the blackboard. So what we need to do is we need to tell the blackboard what unit type we're dealing with, which is why we have the UnitMaster open. So we're going to create a new function in the UnitMaster that will take care of that for us. So create new function, and this will be SetUnitTypeAI. And let's get a reference to our AI controller. And we're going to do get blackboard. From our get blackboard, we are going to set value as enum. Pass that into here. And then we'll have a return node back here. If I can not move everything around by accident. So return, line that up. Off our enum value, let's go to our unit, go to our details, and we have our unit type at the bottom there. We're going to pass that into here. And then off our key name, we'll do a promote to local variable, and this will be unit type local. And again, just to make sure that I'm not screwing things up, I'm going to go back to my blackboard. I'm going to find my unit type in here, and it's just unit type. But I'm paranoid I'm going to type it in incorrectly. And I'm going to set the default value to unit type so it matches what is in my blackboard. Remember, this default value for our key name has to be what is in our Blackboard, or it will not work. All right. Now that we've done that, we need to call this up 4 times. We also need to make some other changes. So let's start with our engineer unit just to test this out. Open the engineer unit up, and on our event begin play, what we are going to do is we are going to pull off the true, and we're going to search for SetUnitTypeAI. Remember, this is coming from the parent, so we're not going to see it in our list of functions here, unless we say show inherited. And we're going to set it there. Now, there's a small issue. And let's just go back here for a minute. I am going to set this to true. And I'm going to show you what that issue is real quick. So, we had that set to true, do job. Oh, maybe I took care of that earlier and I forgot about it. All right, let's set that back to false. If I took care of this in an earlier video, I forgot to take care of it in my prep file, so I may have taken care of it. So, again, we'll worry about those errors later. Go back to your unit. What we're going to do is select the unit itself at the top here. Go into your details. Actually, that shouldn't have worked. I'm not sure why it did work. Interesting. Oh, because we set it here. Awesome. And just to be on the safe side, we're also going to set it inside of here because it is a class default. In case we need to call class defaults ever, it is better just to have this set. So now that that's working, totally forgot I did that in the construction script. What we are going to do is we are going to go to our harvester, and we're going to repeat what we just did. So in our event graph, we're going to pull off of here, and we're going to do set unit type AI. Plug that into there. Make sure that in our construction script that we actually have it set to harvester. We do. We have it set to harvester here. And again, to make sure our class defaults are correct, yeah, we already have it set in harvester. If you don't, go ahead and set it. I feel like I undid that in some video, which is why I don't remember actually having this set up correctly. And now for our infantry unit, this one actually is surprisingly easy because it's the default. Set unit status or unit type AI. Plug that into there. There we go. Again, make sure our class defaults. I already know the class default for this one will be correct because the default is infantry. Construction script, infantry. All right. And finally, our support unit. Again, set unit status AI. I keep saying status. It's unit type. I'm sorry about that. I blame the fact that I've been overworked. And then go back into here. Change this to support. Go to your construction script. There's our support. All right. Tells you how much I forgot about what I'm doing from earlier. All right, so with all that set, we now have the preliminary part that we need to do to get our individual behavior tree set up. However, we're going to do one more thing now, and we are just going to change this to engineer, or check if engineer. This will be our engineer tree. So we're just going to name this engineer. And because it's a selector, we don't really need to, since this is a selector, we don't need to worry about the order in which things go in. I am going to be a bit lazy and just duplicate this 4 times. And I'm going to rename this one to support. I'm going to spell support correctly. That was sad. All right, check if support, and what we need to do there is change this to support. In fact, actually support's the last one, so I'm going to do it in the order in which the units show up. This will be our harvester, so check if harvester. This will be our harvester section, so, and this one is the 3rd one, engineer is the 2nd one. Plug that into there. Let's move that just so it's lined up a bit better. And then our first one will be our infantry. All right. And change that to infantry. Check if infantry. So now we have all the prelim work we need to do for our individual trees set up. And we're going to leave the test one on the engineer for now, because in the next video, what we're going to do is we're actually going to take care of the engineer's individual tree, which will be relatively simple. It's going to find damaged buildings, vehicles, things like that. I think we also said it will take care of the armor damage on units. So it'll also find the units nearby as well and check for the armor. And it's going to start repairing things. Now, you can have a bit of choice on how you want it to repair things. You want it to prioritize certain things. If you want to get really complex, you can actually set up a finite state machine that you can change the status of so that it will prioritize buildings over anything else, or armor over anything else, or vehicles over anything else. You could have it set up in a simple way where it finds everything and goes, what's the nearest thing I can repair? So how you want to approach this, how you want to fine-tune this is up to you. I am just going to show you the basics of what you need for this to work. And again, there are other ways to approach this. This isn't the end-all, be-all of approaches. But as I said, you might want to fine-tune it so it fits better with either giving the player more control or fits better within the genre of or play style that you're going for. So, again, this isn't something where we're done. This is, all right, what can I do next with it? And I want you to think about that as you go forward. Also, remember to think about that problem that I mentioned with this, that's the wrong thing I meant to click on, with this do job button in relation to our unit status in our BTS unit status check. All right, all of that said, in the next video, we're going to start taking care of actually creating that branch that will allow us to have our units repair buildings automatically, or our engineers repair buildings, or repair vehicles, or to do armor. If I said armor in an earlier video, I have to double check what the support unit does. That said, if you've enjoyed this video or this series, go ahead and hit that like button down below. It really does help this channel out. YouTube really likes the like button for some reason. And if you want to make sure you know when that video is out, given the bit of different schedule this month, make sure to hit that subscribe and notify icon so you know when the video on our engineer is out. I am hopeful to release that on the last Monday of December, but it might be the first Friday of January in which it gets released. All of that said, if you want to help support the channel even further, consider becoming a supporter on Patreon. And as always, I look forward to seeing you in future tutorials, and I hope that you have a wonderful day.